And no town can really commit to future years and what other boards of selectmen are gonna do. I don't think it's necessary. I have complete confidence in the town and the Board of Selectmen to continue to use their road agent to plow and remove snow from that property. I'd like to make a motion to remove the 40,000 from Object Code 422.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Doobie. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Josh seconded it. I'll open it for discussion. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Josh.
So this is one of the things that I did ask Mr. Hughes when he came. I asked him about it. And so we have ordinarily, I think I looked back, so online if you go, you can look back to 2011, I think. Back then it was 6,000, then it increased, and we spent, I think, 27,000 last year, which was a really large number for snow removal, and Mr. Hughes concurred with that. And he put in $11,000 basically to cover the budget as it would exist without this question of whether or not the Sandown Board of Selectmen will continue snow removal at Sandown Central. So my understanding is the $11,000 covers everything other than the lack of plowing by the town of Sandown. So I'm comfortable removing the 40,000. I haven't seen anything from the Board of Selectmen that has said that they refuse to do that, and so I consider it business as usual. So that's why I support it.
Jack?
So I guess in the history of the district coming together, have we ever received a letter? This is my concern. We received a letter from any of the towns saying that they couldn't commit to 2 years in advance. I mean, I just found it suspect and unusual that we would receive a letter like that. Now, my understanding is we probably haven't.
Have any of the other
Can-
towns been asked pointedly that question? Sandown was.
Yes, exactly. Go ahead. Go ahead, Julie.
I think I agree with just leaving it in there based on the uncertainty of the full use of that building, and if it becomes a situation where it's like the middle school or the high school, whether or not the town may say it's not just a Sandown thing, that they're not gonna plow it. My question is there enough resources doing the high school and middle school that they could go up and also do the Sandown?
I can answer that. Absolutely not. That was my first question. You know, can we handle this? And to Mr. Doobie's point, the question was only asked because one of the selectmen made an agenda item and separated out the two schools.
Right.
And I can tell you, whether you take this out, this money, I'm covering this line item, and it'll come out of Sandown. It'll come out of their schools. Yeah, we've already had this discussion, right? So I have to protect the schools against that kind of behavior and those kind of threats. You know, we need to make sure that we can open that school and it's safe. And so, you know, I've already spoken to the principals. They're well aware that their building budgets could be squeezed a little bit to protect for this. And in the event that they continue to plow into 17, then perhaps I'll unfreeze those lines at that time. But I'll have to cover this in the meantime, one way or another.
Josh?
So I have two things. The first thing is, I'm not sure there's a way to answer that question that was posed to Sandown other than the way they answered it. They might give you assurances. The assurances don't mean anything because that board is going to change next year in March. Secondly, I just have a question. How much is in the emergency fund, the reserve fund that was funded last year that was just incorporated? So there's a fund, as the towns have the same fund, where you can,
That requires a vote, right? So it's irrelevant for snow plowing.
Again, it's not additional spending. It does not change your budget. So you can't just say, oh, it's not in the budget, so I'm gonna spend this additional money.
that's not what I'm getting to. I'm sorry. My point is, let's say we spend all of our money and now we have no money to plow Sandown Central because Sandown refuses, for some reason, to plow that space. We have an emergency fund, which I'm sure, in that case, you tell the Board of Education, you either release this money, or DRA, or whoever it is that authorizes it, you either release this money or we can't plow, pretty sure they're gonna let you plow. It's a guess, but that seems like an emergency situation to me. I don't think we'll ever get there, I just thinking way ahead, that's what I believe.
Michelle, you had your hand, okay. Any further discussion in regards to the motion set forth by Lee? Okay, if not, we'll take a vote. Jeff, if you don't mind reading back that motion, please.
The motion made by Mr. Doobie is a motion to remove snow plowing from object code 422, 421,
Remove 40,000.
40,000.
From object code 422.
from 422, I'm sorry, remove 40,000 of snow plowing from object code 422.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those against the motion signify by saying aye. Have that, Jeff?
Yes.
4-4. So the motion fails. Yep.
So, as we try to get to a number that we're comfortable with, right, and so when you finally get to that and say, hey, like, we would like you to come back at, you know, that's certainly something, I know the vote was 4-4, that's something certainly I would take into consideration. If you gave me a super conservative number, I had to take a look at, that may be one of the items that, we'd be able to work on, if we had to, you know, if we're trying to get to a number, so, just a, you know, for future reference.
Thank you.
So